Last night on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. You must be smiling after the events of yesterday, am I wrong?
Bob, I'm still, beaming after watching the offense explode for 421 yards. Yeah, they only scored 16 points, but they didn't have any 3-and-outs. They lived in Bengals territory, and Kenny Pickett played a very good game from beginning to end. It was not a fourth quarter outburst. It wasn't a second half explosion. He was really good from the very beginning, and we saw the Steelers offense do things that Matt Canada had on his list of 10 no-nos, things that he never wanted to see his quarterback do: throw to the middle of the field, a lot of play action, take chances downfield, go to the tight end. I mean, just things that have been non-existent in the Steelers offense. And for one afternoon, coincidentally, the Sunday they get rid of Matt Canada, all of these things were then incorporated instantaneously into the Steelers offense. So yeah, Bob, I'm in a very good mood.
Well, it helps going against the 30th ranked defense, and they were not very good yesterday, but I will give the Steelers a lot of credit for how they handled this, how they came right out and made a statement right out of the bat with a pass over the middle to Pat Freiermuth, and all of a sudden the tight ends have become a viable option here, whereas before I think they only had 28 or 30 catches coming into the game as a group. Yesterday they had 12, 9 of them as far as receptions went to Pat Freiermuth, so that's certainly encouraging to see. And the run game was very good as well, 4 consecutive games over 150 yards. And then there's the elephant in the room, Deontay Johnson, and some of the stuff that's been going on with him. First off, to me that was a touchdown, and I still don't understand why the Steelers didn't challenge that, just because you have somebody upstairs, I presume, in that booth who's looking at that play the same way you and I would be looking at it, Pony. You got to understand the rules and everything about it. The rule has changed. You don't have to survive ground, but the ball did come out. However, if you count the steps, as Gene Steratore said, they would have won that challenge. But it's what happened afterwards. Because quite frankly, if that play goes for a touchdown, we'll be talking about this all over the place, even more so than what you heard today on some of the national shows. Connor Hayward, give him a lot of credit because he made a tackle that, if not, would have led to a touchdown for Cincinnati. Your thoughts on that whole developing play?
Yeah, I thought it was embarrassing. Bob, I would sit him at the beginning of the Cardinals game. I wouldn't suspend him, but I would do something that got my point across to a player that a complete lack of effort is not going to be tolerated.
Yeah, I think there has to be a conversation, and there will be, I'm sure, with Mike Tomlin. He likes to do it, and he likes to get in those meeting rooms and kind of embarrass people if the situation calls for. And I think in this case, but I will not suspend him, and I don't think he will suspend him, or I don't think he will sit him. He's going to play from start to finish. They need to win games, and that's
Should
what
he?
this. As long as he talks to him and there's some sort of understanding and discipline, however he handles that, I don't think it has to go to sitting a series. To me, that's, so what does that do? You're in one series, you're out, you sit for a few plays, you come back in. I think it's beyond that right now. I think he knows what he did. I saw some of his social media posts where he was talking to people actually and taking a lot of onus. I think afterwards he realized what he said. I thought I saw a couple of responses to it, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was the opposite. I thought he saw some posts about it and was like, basically, what are you guys talking about? There's nothing to see here.
Well, there may have
Move
been that
on.
too. I've seen a lot of different things, so who knows what I see on social media and how much of it is from whomever. Bottom line is, he knows that what he said yesterday, and of course Shannon Sharp and Ryan Clark today ripped it all apart. You can't say that because the video says otherwise. Anyway, you can see the numbers that Kenny Pickett put up here when it comes to third down conversions. Man, he was big in such clutch situations. And this was reminiscent to me of his preseason and some of the accuracy we saw in those preseason games. And for whatever reason, we can dissect this, why he was not throwing to the middle, why they were ignoring some of their better playmakers. Who knows what really happened in that situation. All I know is that we saw a refreshing change in this game, even though it resulted in just 16 points. I think points will come. Touchdown passes will come. He could have had one yesterday and probably should have had one yesterday as well. All right, let's talk about the schedule real quick before we go here, because it looks to me like the Steelers have a massive edge with regard to their schedule. San Francisco is on Baltimore's schedule. Miami is on Baltimore's schedule. The Steelers have no such team. You can argue the hardest team they have is going to be Baltimore at the end of the year, and it may come down to that game or it may not. Andrew, who do you think has the edge, even though Baltimore sits right now at 9-3, a perfect time for a bye week for them, and they got to be feeling pretty good about their play, although their offense has been rather sporadic at times.
And they don't have Mark Andrews for the rest of the year, but their defense, they put up all kinds of graphics during Sunday Night Football comparing those guys to the 2000 Ravens, and some of the things they're doing now do compare almost evenly to that team. They sack the quarterback more than any other team in the NFL. They've got an outstanding secondary with Kyle Hamilton and guys like that. So, yeah, their defense has been incredible. Lamar Jackson can make plays, but he doesn't against the Steelers. So you'd like to think if it comes down to that last week that you can pick the Steelers to win the division, Bob. But for me, for as giddy as I am about their offense and Kenny Pickett and maybe what guys like Najee and Pat Freiermuth can now do inside this new offense, I still think road games against the Colts and the Seahawks will not be easy ones. I could see them losing at least one of those games. And if that happens, there's 5 losses, and you would need to beat the Ravens, I think, head-to-head in Week 18 to win the division. So I would still put them as an underdog. I think they're close to a lock to make the playoffs, but I don't like their chances to win the AFC North right now.
Yeah, but just when you think this happens is somehow Kyler Murray will throw for 400 yards and do something crazy and they'll lose the game.
Don't say that, Bob.
No, I'm just saying the NFL is very weird in how it develops. And some of these things, you look at it and you think it's easy. No, it's not as easy. And I agree with you, those road trips. But I also think with going to San Francisco for Baltimore and having Miami, who knows, those can be 2 losses as well. All right, let's go to our number 1 Cochran Go One Better call of the night. And that begins with Ed in Uniontown. Ed, what's up? How are you?
How you doing, guys?
Hi,
I
Ed.
got a point to make about Deontay. And first of all, Pony, I think you're spot on about Kenny Pickett. He's going to lead us to a championship someday. Hang in there. I'm a big fan, and I know you're a big fan. But with regard to Deontay, since he's arguing with some of his teammates, they should let Cam Hayward, Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, and Minka Fitzpatrick decide how to punish him.
Well, that's not going to happen. So, listen, it's going to be
But, Bob,
tough.
how many times do we sweep things like this under the rug and just move on with our lives? Claypool signaling first down during a running clock, Juju dancing on 50-yard lines before games. I mean, every time a Steelers wide receiver leaves, a new guy becomes the number 1 wide receiver, and there's a headache that comes with the player. Mike Tomlin can say all he wants about George Pickens' social media because he thinks that doesn't affect the game. This does. And this goes against everything Tomlin stands for as a coach. Where is your effort play to play? And if you're not going to try, then something should be done about that. Even if it's, I wouldn't bench him for the entire game, but I also don't think yelling at the guy works.
I'm not suggesting that they're going to yell at him. I think they're going to discuss. He's going to make it clear. I just think sitting in for one series makes no sense. I don't think that hits home with anyone. If you're going to do anything, hit it where it hurts the most, and that's a substantial fine if you're going to do that.
You're allowed to do that?
I don't know. Can you? Do they keep it secret in the NFL?
Player unions, I don't think you can.
Okay.
I don't think you can tell a guy thousands of dollars out of your
You can do a
pocket.
lot of things. I'm just saying sitting for a series makes no sense to me and never did. I don't care if it's college. I see it all the time. Nick Saban does that all the time against some, Little Sisters of the Poor team that they play. And,
Well, we got a 2-10 team on the schedule.
Okay.
We got a 2-10 team
That's right.
here.
You watch those 2-10 teams because they can jump up at you. All I'm saying is it will be dealt with, and it should be dealt with, and I'm going to judge him based on how it goes forward. I think he's still, in my mind, what he was doing was thinking about that last play. And that's inexcusable, but I think he was so upset with the fact that the call went against him, plus he dropped it, and he admitted he should have held on to the ball. I think that was on his mind. I'm not trying to excuse him for what he did. Not at all. But what I'm saying is I think he'll deal with it the way he does. We have this from Carmen Ciara on Twitter. Carmen says, Johnson clearly wasn't blocking. I say Tomlin needs to start hitting these people with fines, just as I said, but that won't happen. He'll do something. And if it continues, then you got to take even more drastic measures, and then maybe suspending him for a game or not dressing him or whatever would be the case. But they also need him, Andrew. And one of the things I'd like to see more, to be honest, is crossing patterns short and long over the middle with some of these guys who have speed. We don't see enough of that. That's one thing that's been missing. We talk about in the middle of the field. Well, yeah, for Freiermuth, sure. But what about George Pickens running a slant? What about, we saw it last year a couple of times, and he turns on the speed and he runs away from you. Deontay Johnson can do the same. Let's go to Jim in Peters Township. Jim, you're up next here on the Nightly Sports Call. What's up?
Good. Hey, I agree with all you guys are saying, especially Andrew. Here's the elephant in the room. I say it's Tomlin, and I'll tell you why. He put the handcuffs on the offensive coordinator, and look what happened whenever the first game. And the defense always wants to play the cover two, conservative. When's the last time he won a playoff game? 2016, if my
It's
memory
been a long
serves me.
time.
That's what, 7 years
To your
ago?
point about conservative, and this is something that yesterday I thought, and it's another point, Andrew, we can debate here. When they got into Cincinnati territory and it was a 4th down play, 4th and 2 or 3, whatever it was, I was of the belief that this defense is good enough to shut down what they were doing. Go for it every time you're on that side of the field at 4th down. And I would. I know he's playing, field position game. I get all of that. But against this offense in Cincinnati, what they threw out there, I don't think they were going to be a threat at all unless something weird happened.
Yeah, I give the offense a lot of credit because I thought it showed a lack of confidence in them to punt the ball there on that first drive. It showed, and I thought with Tomlin, he didn't believe in the offense, and he wanted to make it about his defense again in the game. That is punter can't even pin him deep. It goes for a touchback. So I thought that was something that could have a residual effect on the game. That was a moment that I thought if they lost, we would look back on and second guess that, but he got away with it because Jake Browning couldn't make the Steelers pay, and their offense moved the ball on the subsequent possessions that occurred after that. But yeah, I thought that was a live in your fears moment by Mike Tomlin right out of the gate.
One of the things that's encouraging for this team is, you look around, there's a lot of teams struggling offensively. I saw Josh Dobbs threw 3 picks tonight. From
4.
Minnesota. 4? Is it up to 4? Oh, my goodness.
4. It's
okay.
up to 4. Remember when people a week ago said he was better than Kenny Pickett? Bob, those are wild times.
Yeah, well, I ignored that because that wasn't the truth, and people are going to say whatever they want to say based on. But the bottom line was he gave them a shot in the arm when they needed something. Now, it's like the perfect example of some guy who you get something out of, but the longer it goes, the more exposed he is, and I think he falls into that category, which a lot of backup quarterbacks do. I was encouraged with Joey Porter Jr. once again. He seems to really ramp up his level of play against the best in the game. He's done it repeatedly now ever since he got inserted as a starter. He did it against Jamar Chase yesterday. And what I like about it is that even though he's going to be called for pass interference from time to time, I'll take that if it means he's going to blanket guys all over the field. Andrew, he was all over him. Yeah, he gets handsy with it, but they can't call pass interference on every single play.
I thought it was a banner day for their entire rookie class. They ran the ball well again with Jarvis Jones, with Broderick Jones in there. I got my Georgia Jones guys confused. Darnell Washington's blocking was good. Nick Herbig had a sack. Keanu Benton, again, was a big part of a defense that held Joe Mixon to 16 rushing yards on the day. So I thought they got contributions from all of those guys. Tomlin held back those rookies, I think, for a little bit too long. But now we're seeing it pay dividends with the way most of those guys from this draft class are panning out. And look, they need that, Bob, because their last few drafts have not been that good. And this one looks like it has a chance to be a special one.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think all 5 are doing great that you mentioned, and maybe they are benefiting from not being thrown into the fire real quick. No one will ever know that. Herbig's unbelievable to me. He gets very limited reps, but he's always around.
Makes plays.
Yeah, he really does. And yesterday, I don't know what Browning was thinking. All he had to do was throw the ball away, and he didn't. One more call before we go to the break, and that would be Matt in Butler. Thank you for joining us on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, Matt.
Hey, guys. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, Bob, you mentioned this earlier. As of 2 years ago, the Steelers were the only guy that did not have a guy in the booth dedicated to replay, and that was because of Tomlin. And if you look at all of this noise that we're talking about tonight, he isn't going to do anything with Deontay Johnson. He's not against that. He talks about it, but he does nothing. Tomlin's a common problem. He didn't fix the offensive coordinator until the ownership came down and said fix it. It's Tomlin. He's the issue.
Well, we'll find out. I think you can make the conclusion that he was certainly in Matt Canada's corner. He had plenty of opportunity to make a change last year at the bye week. There was talk about it. In fact, many people thought it would happen. This year at the bye week, many people thought it would happen even more so. But Andrew, he stuck with him. And yeah, I mean, I got to believe that it was ownership coming down and saying, we've got to make a change. You can own it. You can say it. But it has to happen for the betterment of the team.
I think ownership looks at the more macro, and that is the quarterback that they used a first-round pick on. We saw a number of years ago when Art Rooney was worried about Ben Roethlisberger taking too many hits, and we saw a coordinator change then, and I think things got so stagnant with Kenny Pickett, he was looking for a spark, and that's what prompted this move, and hey, so far so good. 1-for-1 for Kenny Pickett, who, yeah, he didn't throw a touchdown pass, Bob, but look at all the yards and look at the efficiency.
Yeah, especially in the middle of the field. I'd like to see more of that, and I think we will, plus play action as well. And if you want to get your opinion heard, don't forget to tune in to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call tonight at 10:35 on KDKA+. So give us a call at 412-575-2600. We do it every night after the 10 o'clock news. For CBS News Pittsburgh, I'm Bob Pompeani.